to another episode of Deep Dive into Stock Charts. I'm your host, Chip Anderson, the president of StockCharts.com, and today we're going to do another deep dive into StockChartsACP, our newest feature. I got a couple of FAQs I want to go over before the show starts, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. We are recording this. If I go a little too fast, or if you want to see something that I demonstrated again, you can absolutely get that. Just go to our YouTube channel and you'll see it up there soon. Second off, we are doing this live right now on Leap Day, February 29th. If you're with us on Leap Day, absolutely ask some questions in our Slido chat box, which is right next to the video that you're watching on our Stock Charts page. My friend Rachel, who's sitting with me today.
Hi, everybody.
We'll see your messages and answer them or pass them along to me at some point. Definitely say hi to Rachel right now in the chat room. She'd really appreciate it. And then the slides that you're looking at, I've just uploaded a downloadable version of this one at the web address that you see right there on your screen. And so if you want to download those slides, take a peek at them, you can do that now, you can do it later, so on and so forth. Okay, so again, today's topic is StockChartsACP. We're getting into the home stretch of ACP. Lots and lots of new features have been added. I'm going to go over some of them with you, but I'm also going to make sure that everyone's clear on all the different standard features that are there. Some of them have moved around a little bit as we continue to move towards the official release. ACP is currently in what we call a beta phase, but honestly, it's getting closer and closer to a real phase. Going to be very, very functional very, very shortly. So the agenda for today, what is ACP? I'll give you a demonstration of that. How do you start using it? How can you customize it? How can you make the charts the way you want to make it in ACP? We'll go over all the different parts of the interface there. Saving charts in ACP. This is a brand new feature. It's not 100% released, but it's really, really close. And so I want to give you a sneak peek of what that's going to look like. That might be ready by the end of this coming week. And then how can you use ACP? It's a tool that you can use right now. So how can you use it to analyze the current market volatility that we've been having this past week, as you probably know, has been historic for the stock market. And everyone has a lot of questions. Well, this is a time where technical analysis can shine. And I'm going to show you how ACP can help with that. And then what's coming up next? So what are the new features? What are the next features that you should expect to see? So on and so forth. Remember, you can ask questions throughout the show, different places where I'll try and stop and answer them. So just real quick, in case you're new, ACP, StockChartsACP stands for Advanced Charting Platform. And it is the most interactive advanced charting platform on the internet. That's our goal, and we think we're going to make that goal. It gives you live, interactive, streaming charts from StockCharts using the latest browser-based technologies. It lets you reach into your charts. It lets you touch your charts and manipulate those charts in ways that you weren't able to do before. So the emphasis, again, on the interactivity. That's what we're really trying to make it. More interactive and more dynamic than any other platform out there. But it also is going to be more accurate than any other platform out there. It's using our data. We're making sure that that data is up to date. We're making sure that data has been adjusted because that's what technicians need. It's the most accurate, most interactive tool on the internet. That's our goal, and that's where we're trying to get to. So before we go any further, let me give you a quick demo, introduce you to ACP, make sure you're familiar with it. Here's ACP running on my computer. I'm going to actually go ahead and make this full screen so I get the maximum amount of screen real estate for it. And we see we've got a nice chart looking here. This is SPY. Well, it was kind of nice until recently. I can click and drag, move stuff back and forth. I can add, change colors. I'm going to show you real quickly if I want to take a moving average, maybe tweak it a little bit. Here it is, a 50-day moving average, but I can take that moving average and make it shorter. I can make it longer very easily. So this is some of the things I was talking about before with interactivity. You noticed as I was scrolling back and forth, I've got volume by price happening back and forth here. I can zoom in, I can zoom out, all the standard things that you're kind of familiar with on charting platforms out there. But again, this is Stock Charts, and we're doing things nice. So what we're going to be doing the rest of the show is I'm going to be taking you through all the different features that you see on the screen here, making sure you fully understand them. But I just wanted to give you a very quick intro to what ACP looks like. Okay, so one of the questions that we're going to get immediately off the gate is how much is ACP? And I got very good news for you here. ACP is free. There's no additional fee for it. First off, there will always be a free version available on StockCharts, just like always been a free version of all of our charting tools. It'll be somewhat limited, the free version will be, but you can use it, absolutely. And then if you're a member of StockCharts, of course, then you're going to get more features. You're going to get all the features that ACP has, and you're going to get the ability to save your charts, save styles, create lists of charts, so on and so forth. There's no additional cost to members for ACP. All you need is just a StockCharts membership using the regular fee structure that we currently have in place. You'll do fine with ACP. It'll be great. Excuse me. So how can you get to ACP? How can you start it up if you're interested, and how can you get back to it if you misplace it? Well, first off, maybe the easiest thing is just to remember StockCharts.com/ACP. That will get you there every single time. However, there are many other ways you can get there. There is a box on the Tools and Chart page for the StockChart. If you go to StockCharts.com, click on Tools and Charts, you'll see a box right there for ACP. You can get it that way. If you log into StockCharts as a member, you go to the members dashboard, you'll see a big green button that says Go to ACP. Click on that. That's another way. In the chart box drop down, chart bar drop down, where you get to type a ticker symbol, and typically you just type a ticker symbol and press enter. You'll see our other charting tool, the Sharp Charts charting tool. Well, there's a drop down there too. You can also drop that down, select ACP, and go that way. And finally, if you are in our Sharp Charts tool, now down at the bottom of the Sharp Charts tool, there's a little button that says ACP. You can click on that, and then the chart you're looking at in Sharp Charts, you will see in ACP. And honestly, as we continue to integrate ACP into the rest of our site, there will be more ORs to come. There will be lots of different ways to get ACP. We'll make it more and more integrated into all aspects of the site over time. Now, as you just saw a second ago during my demo, ACP really shines in full screen mode. It is the kind of tool that kind of demands to take over your screen, if you will. It's a little pushy that way. And there's a full screen icon in the upper right corner. There's a whole bunch of icons. I'm going to demo this again in just a minute. A whole bunch of icons in the upper right corner, maybe 4 or 5 of them. And full screen is one of them. And I think you really want to get very familiar with that button. That's the first button I almost always click when going to ACP. Because while running it in multiple browser windows is possible and multiple tabs is possible, it's not recommended. What's recommended instead is run ACP full screen, and you can open up to 9 different windows right there inside of that one main window. So that's the way to go, really, is full screen. And if you're like me, then you'll go out and buy a bigger monitor, so on and so forth. Anyway, in just a second, I will show you this too. I want to, once you have ACP open, then of course the first thing you want to do is create a chart. And there are several different ways to do that. The main way is a ticker box is located in the upper right corner, right next to the StockCharts.com logo. And you can just simply type a ticker symbol in there and press enter, and you will see a chart of that particular ticker symbol. Now, what's important to know, though, is that you can add additional charts to the main ACP panel, like I was saying. To do that, the easiest way to do it is to type another ticker symbol and then press Shift Enter rather than pressing Enter. Press Enter, that will change the chart you're currently looking at. If you press Shift Enter, that will add a new chart panel to your screen. There's also a little plus icon that you could use as well. That will also do the same thing as Shift Enter. It'll add another panel to your screen. Now, once you have panels up and running, how do you and maybe you use them for a while, you want to get rid of a couple, free some space up, how do you do that? Just if you move your mouse over the panel, a little red X will appear in the upper right corner of that panel. You can click on that to remove the chart. I'm going to demonstrate again all of this again in just a minute. Finally, there is the concept of the current chart, the chart that's currently selected when you're working with multiple charts. And if the chart is currently selected, then it'll have this little glowy effect on the edges. I'll point that out as well. So as I mentioned, you can, if you've got a chart open, you've got it all with all the different settings that you like, and you want to see a different symbol with those same exact settings, simply type the symbol and press enter. That's going to change the chart sticker symbol for you. Now, there is another method that I'll demonstrate as well. I've got a big demo coming up here. Got to remember all this stuff. It's called Sync Mode. Sync Mode is another one of those buttons in the upper right corner. It's close to that full screen button I was mentioning a second ago. And in sync mode, what happens is if you have multiple charts open, let's say you have 3 charts open for IBM, and maybe one chart is a daily chart, one chart is a weekly chart, and one chart is a 1-minute chart. So they're different time frames, but it's the same ticker symbol. If you are in sync mode and you go to that ticker box in the upper left corner by our logo, and you type in a different ticker, it will change all 3 of those charts. It will change any chart that has the IBM symbol in it to be whatever the new symbol that you typed in. That's, again, only if sync mode is enabled. And that's really convenient because it's kind of like a gallery view, if you will. You can set up, as I mentioned, the typical idea here is you set up different charts with different time periods, and then you can change them. You can go from one ticker symbol to another ticker symbol to another ticker symbol, and all the charts with those symbols will change. So that can be very, very convenient, but you need to make sure you understand it because it can also be really confusing if you don't. And then you need to remember to make this happen, sync mode has to be turned on. Now, the final thing I'm going to demonstrate is there are 2 drop downs right next to the ticker box. One's called period, one's called type. These are pretty standard things you should be familiar with. Period, of course, is the amount of time each bar represents. And type is the kind of chart that we're going to display. Candlestick chart, an open, high, low, close bar chart, an area chart, all those different kinds of charts are available. So we're going to see those drop downs and how they can work. So good. Now I'm at my demo. Let me go and see if I can remember to show you all these different things. So I'm back here at ACP, and I've got one chart open at this point. It's a chart of SPY, SPY. We can see that here. Here's the ticker box I was telling you about. Right next to our logo is the ticker box, and I can type another symbol here. Let's type J&J, and I just press enter. And now the chart that I had has been changed from SPY to J&J. Makes sense? Let's say that I want another chart, though. I want to see Microsoft at the same time. So I'm now going to hold down Shift and press enter. And in doing that, I now have 2 panels. I've got my original Johnson & Johnson chart up top. I've got the Microsoft chart down below. Notice the little glowy effect around the Johnson & Johnson chart. That's what I was talking about. And then if I click here on the Microsoft chart in any way, the little glowy thing moves down to the bottom. So Microsoft has been selected. Also, as I hover, as I move my mouse from one chart to another, notice over here on the right, there's a little X that appears. That's the X I was mentioning that allows you to close the panel if you don't want that chart anymore. And then, yeah, so let's set this up. So I'm going to set up, there's Microsoft down below. Here it is, it's selected. And so I'm going to change it from a daily chart to a monthly chart. Then I'm going to add another chart of Microsoft. Let me use the plus box to do it here. Now I've got another one. Here's my monthly chart here. I'm going to make this, there's my daily chart over here. And up top, I'm going to make this into my one minute chart. Okay. And so now I've got a whole bunch of different charts all available for Microsoft. Let's see, let's get this going. Yeah, there we go. And what I want to do, oh, sorry, this is my Johnson & Johnson chart. I got to change this. There we go. All right, now all 3 of them are Microsoft. I've got different charts. And so what I want to do is show you sync mode. Sync mode is the icon that's right here. It says toggle sync mode. I'm going to turn sync mode on. And now when I come up here and I type a different symbol, I'm going to go back, I'm going to type Intel, INTC. I'm going to press enter. And all 3 of my charts now change. So I have 1 minute chart of, a monthly chart of Intel, and a daily chart of Intel. So that's what sync mode does. And it can be very, very useful. So keep that in mind. Now again, we've got other kinds of displays here. I can pull up an area chart. I can pull up a candle volume chart for 1 minute. That's pretty boring. In fact, let me take my 1 minute chart, come back here, go to maybe my area chart on this one. See that area view, and so on and so forth. Okay, so hopefully you get a sense of this. We've got period, we've got chart type. We also have set ranges, and I'm going to talk in just a minute though. So if you need, for instance, year to date, you can click here and you'll get year to date. On a monthly chart, that's not very interesting. So let's look at daily, year to date. There we go. So all of these drop downs are very useful and they're very commonly changed. So those are things that you want to play with. Just remember they apply to the currently selected chart. All right, I think that was everything that I wanted to demonstrate. Go back now to my slides, go to the next set of information for you. Any big questions yet, Rachel?
Excuse me. So let's see here. Rich would like to know, how do you add area for moving averages?
Area for moving averages. Well, let me get to indicators. I'm going to talk about them in just a minute, how you add indicators in general, and then we'll talk about how you can style the indicators.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, excellent. So before we do that, I have to finish my kind of tour of all the other different kind of global aspect parts of ACP, and then we'll get into the indicators. An important thing to understand is Scrunch Mode. So Scrunch Mode is something that we created that allows you to specify whether or not you want all of your indicators on the screen all the time, or whether you'd prefer to have your indicators remain nice and big and you then can scroll your chart up and down while the screen is there. So if you want all of your indicators available all the time, then you want to use Scrunch Mode. Scrunch Mode is an icon. It's right next to that link icon that I was, or sync icon that I was showing you a second ago, and in the upper right corner. So if you want to keep all of your indicators on the screen no matter what, then use Scrunch Mode. And if you add a ton of indicators, we'll scrunch them all down. They'll get really small. That's why we call it that. On the other hand, if you want to study your indicators in detail, then you want to not use Scrunch Mode. You want to unclick that box and use Unscrunch Mode. Your chart will be nice and big, and to see all of it, though, you'll have to scroll up and down. And so those are the two choices, and you can switch between them very easily. It's not hard. Just remember the Scrunch button is there in the upper right corner. I mentioned, and the Scrunch Mode is important to remember because it will affect how scrolling and zooming works, which we're going to talk about next. So keep that in mind. Scrolling, I was showing this just a second ago. You can click and drag on any blank area of the chart to kind of move backwards and forwards through the chart. Don't forget, you also have that range drop down I was demonstrating if you want to see a specific range of dates. But typically, again, ACP is all about interactivity. So the ability to just reach in, grab the chart, and drag it back and forth, super, super useful. If you notice, I'll point them out in my next demo. They're little VCR buttons that appear down at the bottom of the chart, right in the middle. We call them VCR buttons because they look kind of like what an old VCR had. They allow you to go forward or backwards, one bar at a time if you want to do that. There's also a button we call the VCR reset button, or kind of the home button. That if you scrolled your chart all over the place, you've zoomed in and you zoomed out and you said, okay, that's fine. I want to go back to seeing what's happening right now. I want to see the right edge of the chart. You can really quickly get there just by clicking on that VCR reset button. I'll show you that too. Now in scrolling, just remember all the time, it's always true that Shift and the mouse wheel will scroll you back and forth as well. So you can use your mouse wheel to scroll in addition to clicking and dragging. I'll demonstrate that too. Zooming is the other part of it. Zooming is not scrolling, but zooming is, when you go in or go out and you get lots of bars or not a whole lot of bars, so on and so forth. That zooming changes depending on what Scrunch Mode is doing. Because remember, Scrunch Mode takes advantage of scrolling up and down the page. And if Scrunch Mode's on, then we aren't going to be scrolling up and down the page, and we can use the mouse wheel by itself to do the zoom function. And that's what happens. And that's the typical thing that happens. That's what a lot of people expect. So that's normally why we recommend have Scrunch Mode off. Have Scrunch Mode on so that the mouse wheel will work like you expect. But on the other hand, again, if you prefer to have your charts nice and big and see them all the time, then when Scrunch Mode is off, you'd prefer that the mouse wheel move your chart up and down on the screen. And so if that's the case, then you can't use the mouse wheel by itself for zooming. Instead, you have to hold down the control key. So control and mouse wheel will zoom when Scrunch Mode is off. So little interesting kind of quirk there you have to keep in mind. And then another thing that you can do with your mouse in ACP is inspecting. This is something that you had to turn on in Sharp Charts manually, but in ACP it's always on. You can inspect with or without the crosshairs icon. with the crosshairs icon on, which is what's recommended. And again, there's a button for that in the upper right corner, right next to all those other buttons I've been talking about. Then as you move over the chart, you'll see the data at the position of your mouse appear on the chart for you to reference. The data for the chart, most of the data will appear in the legends on the upper left corner of the chart, or in the title of the chart, the quote that's in the above the upper right corner of the chart. The ability to measure distances is something that we can do in SharpCharts. We can't quite do that yet in ACP. That will be coming shortly, where you can click and drag to see how many bars or how much percentage things have changed. And then the final thing, notice in my demo, I'm going to do this in just a second, the crosshairs are synchronized. So when they're moving on a daily chart, they'll move very quickly, but you'll also see them on the weekly chart and they'll be moving slowly, but they'll stay in sync. It's really kind of a neat feature. Okay, in fact, let me show you this stuff now. All right, so I got another demo pause that I can do. So let's start with Scrunch Mode, because that was what I was talking about. Actually, if we can, let's start with the crosshairs, because I've got two panels up, and that's going to make it easy for me to do this. So let me synchronize both of these panels, and now these are the VCR controls I was mentioning. Allows me to go backwards or forwards by a little amount, or if I want, I can click here and go, and now it's been reset back to the beginning. I can scroll. Got my mouse wheel going here. I'm just using my mouse wheel, and so I'm zooming out, or I can zoom in. I can also take here and change this, change this to a weekly period. And now this is what I wanted to demonstrate for you. Let me go reset both of these. But one of these is a weekly, and one of these this is weekly, and this is daily. And so notice as I'm moving on my daily chart, I have the crosshair, the vertical crosshair available on my weekly chart. It's right there, but it's moving slower. You see how it's moving slower? It's kind of hard to point it out because if I move my mouse, it moves the thing. But, and then similarly, if I'm down here on my weekly and I move my weekly bar a little bit, you notice the daily crosshair moves very quickly. So those stay in sync. That's what I was pointing out. So now let me do a full demonstration of Scrunch Mode. I'm going to close down one of my windows. So I've got a full window going here. And I am currently in Scrunch Mode, meaning that if I add more indicators to this chart, all the indicators I've currently added, they're all going to fit on this chart. I'm going to talk more about adding indicators in just a second, but just bear with me here. I'm going to add maybe 2 or 3 more real quick, just to kind of give Scrunch Mode so you can see Scrunch Mode in action. So at this point, all of my indicators are fitting onto the chart. They're all taking up smaller and smaller amounts of space as I add more and more indicators. And I can zoom with my mouse wheel, just my mouse wheel. But if I turn Scrunch Mode off, and I do that by clicking here, now my chart is bigger. It is much taller. And I have the ability to really examine these indicators in much more detail than I had before, because their vertical bars are taller. But it means that my mouse wheel is now used to scroll the chart up and down. So if I want to zoom, I have to hold down a Control key, and then I can zoom back and forth. So hopefully that makes sense. Scrunch Mode is right here. We call it Fit to Window as well, but I will still call it Scrunch Mode. And that's that. Let's see. I think those were the things I needed to demonstrate in this demo. Yes. Okay. So we're going to push forward. There's lots and lots for me to show you, so I'm going to keep going. Well, we haven't talked about yet. I've quickly shown you a couple of this briefly, but I now want to talk about it in detail, are the side panels. So one of the things ACP tries to do is get out of your way. It's trying very hard, it's one of our design points, to try and have as little additional stuff on top of your chart or beside your chart than what's absolutely necessary. We want you to have the most screen real estate for your chart and not for all of our junk. And so we're putting most of the ACP configuration stuff into 2 things we call the side panels, one on the left and one on the right. The left panel is the one that's going to contain all the tools that you need for customizing and saving your chart, changing its settings, making the indicators, adding indicators, removing indicators, so on and so forth. Most of that stuff is going to be on the left side panel. And then the right side panel, on the other hand, is going to contain lists of things that you want to look at. So a lot of times when we're working with charts, technicians will have lists of stocks. They'll have lists of ticker symbols that are either, I don't know, they could be Dow stocks, they could be stocks that is in their watch list, it could be positions that they own, so on and so forth. And so all of those lists are what the right side panel is going to be containing. And so you'll see that in action, but just keep in mind, left side panel for tools, right side panel for lists, and you'll probably be pretty good in terms of what goes where. Another thing that's important to do is we have icons on these panels, because there's several different panels that you can see on the left side and several different panels you can see on the right side. And each panel has an icon, and you'll click on the icon to get that particular panel. It may not be immediately obvious to you what the icon means, and so you can always hover your mouse over the icon to see a description of exactly what that icon does. I'm going to cover the major icons in the rest of today's show. You click on the icon in order to open up that panel, but here's a pro tip, and remember this, a lot of people don't. It's super important, I think. You can click on that icon again, and that will collapse the panel, meaning that you're not dedicating that space to a panel when instead you can dedicate that space to your chart. So it gives you the ability to see more information. And so I think that's really important. So just keep in mind, panels can be open, panels can be closed. And closing it, you just click on the icon again, the current icon, click on it again, and the panel will close right up. So the first panel I want to introduce you to is on the left. It's called the color scheme panel. And this is because this is like, well, the fun one. This is an easy one. You can't hurt yourself. And you might want to spend a little time kind of looking at all the different chart color schemes that we have, see if there's one that you really, really like. But there's an icon over there on the left side that looks like an artist palette. That's the one that is the color schemes. I strongly recommend that you try out the different ones and find the one that's yours. The one that's mine is probably that blue one I really like. But anyway, remember the color schemes are only affect the chart's current colors. So it doesn't affect anything else about the chart. That's different from a style. Later, we're going to see styles. Styles will affect the icon, the indicators and the settings and all the other parts of a chart. A color scheme just changes the colors and nothing else. So color schemes are pretty harmless. So in the next demo, I'll show you color schemes, and then I'm going to show you styles. And styles are super important. A chart style is a template for a chart. It's everything about the chart except the ticker symbol. So if you create a chart that's like your go-to chart for looking at daily bars, you want to save that as a chart style, and then you can apply that style to any ticker symbol you want. Similarly, if you've got a style that you may be using a different style, a different set of settings for 1-minute charts. It may be that your 1-minute charts are going to have a different moving average. They might have a different set of indicators, so on and so forth. You want to save that as a different chart style. Chart styles are stored under the paintbrush icon on the left side of ACP. So it's actually right underneath the artist palette. And we have in there right now a whole collection of predefined ACP chart styles. So these are styles that we created kind of as a demo. They're helpful, but they're also kind of as a demo to show you all the different things that ACP can do. It's going to let you quickly try out all of the different ACP features just by going from one style to another style to another style. My favorite one is electric blue, and we'll see that one in just a minute. But you should try all of them to get a good sense of the kinds of charts that ACP can create. Now, currently, the only thing in the chart styles panel are things that we've created and stored there for you in a predefined way. Very, very shortly, very soon, you'll be able to save your own chart styles in there. And so you'll be able to create and save templates for ACP charts so you can use them again really, really easily. You can currently do that in Sharp Charts, our other charting tool. The ability to do the ACP is coming very soon. And also in addition, as it mentions there in blue, your Sharp Charts chart styles, which you might have been working really hard on up until this point, those will also be available to you in ACP. So that's also coming soon. So let's demonstrate this stuff. I've got my little demonstration breaks after I go through my slides, and so now it's time for another one. All right, so over here on the left and the right are the different panels I talked about. Currently, both of them are collapsed, and that gives me the maximum amount of screen real estate for my charts. I can open up a panel by clicking on it, and when I then click on it and I hover over it again, over the blue area, you'll see that it has the little icon showing that this is how I collapse the panel. So I just did that. I can open up the panel over here. This is the color schemes panel. And when I'm done with it, I can collapse it back down and it's good. So these are the color schemes I was mentioning. We got all different kinds. There's dark amber, dark gray. The names are kind of somewhat synonymous with the colors, but it's a little hard to be 100% clear on the names. My strong opinion is just to try them out. Many of these names do or have familiar counterparts over on our SharpCharts tool, but not all of them. And so you definitely want to try those out. Joker, the Minority Report, Joker, Matrix. You can see that people gotten quite creative with the names. Some of these are very, very, very interesting. My ultimate one is part of a chart style, so you'll see that in a minute. But I do like the Minority Report one myself. So maybe that's just me. Try them all out, see what you think. Can't hurt yourself with color schemes. Similarly, you can't hurt yourself too much with chart styles. So the next one down is the paintbrush, and these are chart styles. Now remember, chart styles will change not only the color, but they'll also change the indicators, the look of the indicators, so on and so forth. They'll change everything but the ticker symbol. So there's Intel with the gold demo scheme. We've got an ICE scheme. We've got a camo scheme. We've got a Joker scheme. All of these, let me scrunch things down. All of these are, interactive. This is fully interactive. You can play with this all you want. You can take indicators, you can make them bigger, you can make them smaller. Lots and lots of capabilities there. So I encourage you to do that. Electric blue is one of my favorites. You'll see me using this one probably a lot in the coming months. I just really like the look and feel of this area. So it's called an area look, an area chart. The ACP, it's got the nice little shading going down. There are additional ones we've got here. We've put them into categories. The categories are somewhat informational, but not 100%. And a couple of our experts have already submitted some. Dave Keller talks about his. I like I believe I like the Greg Schnell one. It's pretty nice as well. That's just me. You absolutely try all these out, come up with your own opinions, and again, you'll see all the different capabilities of ACP as you move from one to another to another. Very soon, you'll be able to create and save your own. Okay, so that is chart styles and chart colors and the side panels. Any questions yet?
Not related to all this yet.
Okay. They're chomping at the bit for other stuff, I'm sure. All right, so this slide is probably the most important slide of the presentation. I want to make sure we go over this in great detail because I want to, it's very, very important that you understand how to add indicators, how to customize indicators to your charts. So the way you do it is with the chart panel setting. I'm sorry, the chart settings panel. That is the panel at the top of the left side of the ACP window. Top icon is up there. It's the one I didn't show you in my last demo. What you're gonna, when you open up that panel, you're gonna see there's two areas. There's the selected indicators area, and below that is the add an indicator area. So the add an indicator area has all the different indicators that we have. You'll see it's a big, long, huge list. But up above that is the selected indicators area. And it's kind of important you understand how that works. What is inside the selected indicators area is an outline view of your current chart. It's kind of your current chart in miniature, where like if your chart had a MACD panel in the selected indicators area, you'll see a line that says MACD. If your chart is a chart of IBM, in the selected indicators area, in the middle, you'll see a line that says IBM. So both the indicators areas and the price plot areas are all represented there inside of this selected indicators area. Again, think of it as an outline of the current chart. Beside each one of these items in that area are little triangles. Just to the left of each item is a triangle. You can click on that triangle and you'll open up what we call the quick settings area for that particular indicator. So if your indicator, for instance, is a moving average, you need to type in a parameter for a moving average. Is it a 50-day moving average, a 200 period, a 10-period moving average, so on and so forth? Well, sometimes you're not entirely sure what you want to type in there. You can use the sliders in these quick setting areas to interactively change those parameters and interact, and then immediately see the effect of changing those parameters. And that's really useful, not only for moving averages, but it's useful for pretty much every indicator, especially when you're getting familiar with the indicator. You want to become more aware of what the settings actually do. Well, just by clicking and dragging, you'll be able to see what those settings do. It's really, really nice, and I strongly encourage you to play with that feature. The other thing you can do is in outline view, as you hover over each of these items, in each of the names of the indicators that you have on your chart, you will see a little gear icon appear, and you'll see a little trash can icon appear. The trash can icon is a quick way to delete the indicator and remove it from the chart. And the gear allows you to change all of the different settings associated with the chart. The quick view stuff just gives you the simple settings, the settings that are commonly changed, but the gear will give you all the settings that could be changed. So you want to keep both of those in mind. That's going to be how you can really take fine-grained control over exactly what your indicators are showing you. Now, as I mentioned, the trash can icon is clicked on to remove the indicator. Then below this whole area is the other area on the panel, which is the add indicators list. And it's a huge list of all the different technical indicators that we provide for our charts. You can just click on any item in that list. It will add that indicator to your chart, and then it will show you the advanced settings panel for that indicator, so you can change the settings if you want to. So you can adjust it as necessary right after you add it. Now, one of the things so that's how things have worked for some time in ACP, and that's still the best way, the most precise way for changing an ACP chart to be what you want. However, ACP, of course, is all about interactivity. And so we're also adding an alternate way to manipulate these indicators and their settings. And that is just by dragging them, just by clicking and dragging. And so at this point, we have the ability for you to click and drag any panel that makes up a chart. Any part of a chart you can click and drag, and you can move it up and down. So you can delete it, so on and so forth. All you do is you click on the legend of that panel and you move it to its new location. I'm going to demonstrate that here, I think right now. Yep. So let me demonstrate both of these capabilities, make sure we're all clear on it. What I'm going to do first is I want to show you the chart settings panel. It's again, the icon that's at the very top on the left side, chart settings. It's right here. Then here is the selected indicators area. And then here is the add indicators area. I'm going to collapse down the add indicator area for right now so we can focus on the other one. I want to show you the other one first. Selected indicators, as I mentioned, is the outline view of my chart. So here's my chart. Up top, it has a full stochastic indicator. Then it's got a chart of Intel with with 2 moving averages and volume, and the volume by price overlay. Below that, it has an ADX indicator, and below that, it has a TRIX indicator. If you look over here, that's exactly what you see as well. You see the full stochastic up above. This is the price plot area with including the moving averages that it has, as well as the price by volume and just the regular volume indicator. Below it, below the price area, like we saw here, is the ADX, and below that is the TRIX. And so again, this corresponds to your chart. Now, if I want to play with some of these settings, let's say, for instance, I want to experiment with the full stochastic. I click on the triangle, and now I've got 3 sliders that I can use to adjust these settings. I can adjust them by clicking on the plus and the minus, or I can just simply click and drag. So if anybody knows me, I'm going to click and drag. And notice as I do that, the indicator is automatically updating itself. And so this allows me to get a sense of what does changing the %K period setting do to my full stochastic? Or what does changing the %K smoothing period do to it? Well, that seems to make it very smooth. And what does changing the %D period have to do? Well, see, that affects the blue line only, doesn't affect the white line. So these are the kind of things you can do with these quick settings. It's really, really powerful, really, really valuable. But if you're not in experimenting mode, you want to actually precisely set stuff, then you can click on the gear, and then you can type in what it is that you want to have, or you can hit the reset button and go back to the standard defaults. Again, when you click on the gear, you get the complete set of parameters that you can change for any one indicator. And you can also delete the indicator by clicking down here if you want as well. When you're done setting all these things, you click on the X, and that will take you back to the standard view, the standard chart setting view. And that's true for pretty much all of these things. I can click on my moving average right here, and now I can change the moving average so it doesn't use close. Instead, it uses typical price, or I can do the style to be dashed, so on and so forth. And then when I'm done, I hit update, and now that's changed. So there we go. There's my dashed line over here, for instance. So that gives you a sense, I think, of what this panel can do. Just remember again that the gear gives you complete control, and the triangle gives you the quick control. Now, I mentioned that you could also just click and drag directly on the charts to make changes. And so let's look at that. If I come up here to the full stochastic panel, let's say I want that below my chart now instead of above. I click and I start to drag. And notice that the indicator has popped out of the chart. And now I have the ability to come down here and drop it where I want to. Wherever I'm going to drop it turns blue. And there, boom, it moves right in. So that's really, really nice. Again, I can take tricks and I can click on the legend and drag it around and then move it here. Really powerful. Now, in addition, see if this actually works. I can take my moving average overlay. Check this out. Can't do this in SharpCharts. I can drag it and I can drop it down, and now it becomes its own indicator panel. This is something that is brand new, and we're still experimenting with it, but it's super, super cool. The ability to take overlays and look at them as indicators is what I'm showing you here. So keep that in mind as well. When in doubt, click and drag, and it may work. Okay, so I think that's most of what that panel is about. Is there anything else? Just deleting an indicator. So I click on the trash can, get rid of the indicator, so on and so forth. All right. Any other questions? Just let us know in the chat panel.
That slider is really cool.
I like it. Let me also, I guess I should quickly show you. These are all the different indicators that come with ACP out of the box. You'll notice that there's an awful lot of them. We've got things like price momentum, rate of change, scooter. This is pretty much all the things that you saw there, or that you get in SharpCharts, are going to be available to you in ACP, as well as a couple of extra ones. And then later we're going to talk about plugins, which are ways that you can add even more indicators, ACP specific indicators, to this list. All right, let's go back and see what else is on my slides. I think we're going to talk about plugins in just a second. Saving ACP charts is coming very soon. Actually, my developers are working really hard to get it working for us today. It isn't quite ready yet. It's not quite ready, and we need to make sure that it's 100% ready. We don't want you saving a whole bunch of charts and then those charts not working anymore. But it is very, very soon, and so I'm going to show you a preview of that in just a second, just to prove to you that we're getting really close. Keep in mind that saved ACP charts cannot be viewed as SharpCharts. ACP has more features than SharpCharts has, so you can't go that direction. However, you can go the other direction. SharpCharts can be viewed as ACP charts. That's been true for a while now. That's still true, and I'll demonstrate that in just a second. You're going to do that by using the chart list panel, which is on the right side. It's one of the right side panels. In addition to saving ACP charts, we're also really close, as I mentioned earlier, to saving ACP chart styles, as well as panel layouts. And when you save panel layout, you'll be your entire screen, everything that you've got ready, all the different chart panels and everything, their position and what they contain, all of that will be saved, and you can bring all of that back with a single click, and you'll be able to go from one panel settings, one collection of panels, to another collection of panels with a single click as well. It's going to be very, very powerful. I'm really looking forward to that. So let's look at this saving charts demo that I promised you. And we're going to do that back here. Come here to the next. This is the little demo. Let's see. No, that's the plugin demo. This is the saving charts demo. Ah, I've got too many demos. We'll try this one to see if it works. Save. Try save. Ah, maybe I don't have my saving demo up. All right, I think in my haste, I screwed up the saving demo, but it is coming shortly, and essentially it'll work like you expect. It's going to prompt you for a name. It's going to prompt you for the list to put the chart into. It's going to work, and then the chart's going to appear in the list. It's going to look really well. I've got two other demos that I snuck in at the last second, and that's what messed me up. The first one gets back to the final part of what ACP stands for. It stands for platform. ACP is the Advanced Charting Platform. And I can't stress this enough. The platform aspect of things is probably the most exciting to me. It means that you can extend the capabilities of ACP by adding more plugins to what you have. You get a ton for right out of the box, but you will always be able to add more plugins to ACP. And ACP will continue to grow and evolve over time because of it. These optional plugins will provide even more analysis tools, including institutional grade capabilities. We are talking with several really powerful existing companies you're probably familiar with, or you may be familiar with, that are going to be providing capability inside ACP via this plugin model. Really, really exciting. Here's a quick slideshow. I've kind of showed you this before. It's a mock-up of what ACP with some plugins might look like. And so in addition, anytime you saw panels that contained a chart, imagine that panel could contain other things as well. It could contain a video feed from StockCharts TV. It could contain RRG, for instance, the RRG tool that we have, or the seasonality tool that we have, or the perf chart tool that we have, or tools that other companies have that we're partnering with to bring those tools inside of ACP. So all of that stuff is going to be happening. And it's super, super exciting. That's the demo actually that I'm ready to show you. So let me do that demo instead. The plugins are going to be available over here on the right. This particular demo gives three types of plugins. The first is the interesting one. This is the plugin type where when you just add the plugin to your version of ACP, you suddenly have more indicators to work with. So notice right now I've got moving average exponential, moving average simple, and a couple of other things. But if I click on the moving average ribbon plugin and it installs itself, this is kind of simulating how that would work. There's a little more to it when things are finally released. But now I have the moving average ribbon indicator. It's right here in this list. If I click on it, I can add that indicator to my chart, just like I could add any other indicator to it. The moving average ribbon, if you're not familiar with it, is a collection of moving averages that are all related. They all have a starting point and a step, meaning the distance between them. So I can change the starting point. Let's say change the starting point down to 5 or 7, change the step down to 4, or maybe out to more. So you see how the rainbow, if you will, is getting broader or narrower. That's what the moving average ribbon provides. But besides that, you can see that it's a new indicator that was added to ACP simply by installing the plugin. Similarly, I could install the StockCharts TV plugin and then pull up StockCharts TV. Now this is a demo. It's not the actual StockCharts TV, otherwise you'd see me in there, which would be a little crazy. But down the road, this will be an actual panel, which will allow you to watch StockCharts TV on the same play inside of ACP while you're using ACP to trade. You don't have to do either or. Similarly, RRG, we get this capability, and then you would see the RRG tool right there inside of ACP. So that's really exciting. This just is a hint of what's to come in that regard. Other things that are coming next, as I mentioned, saving and loading of charts, chart styles, and layouts very, very soon. That should be done before the end of March for sure, if not before the end of next week. Ratio charts, still don't have those in. I want to get those in. We're going to work hard to get those in very shortly. And what we call annotation parity. In other words, I didn't show you this, but ACP has great annotation tools, and they're going to match and exceed the tools that are available in SharpCharts. And making sure that they match the SharpCharts annotation tools is one of our next big projects. The ability to print, the ability to share, the ability to tweet out charts, all that kind of stuff, that's also coming. And then plugins, so on and so forth. And then finally, I mentioned this last time, I'm going to mention it again. We have more details we can share with you now. The ability to do trading directly from StockCharts and initially from StockChartsACP. So we have partnered with Tradier, who's a great brokerage firm, a great online brokerage firm. And that will enable us to allow you to trade directly from StockCharts, all US stocks, options, and futures directly from ACP. We will, your portfolio will be visible in ACP. You'll be able to make the trades from ACP. Over time, we're going to then be able to, if you allow us, take that data and put that into a ACP visualizations so that you'll be able to see, for instance, a pie chart of your portfolio holdings, so on and so forth. Lots and lots of different kinds of things can be done there. This will be all done through this partnership with the Tradier brokerage. And as a really kind of nice kind of side effect of this is that if you have a Tradier account through StockCharts, then you're going to get free real-time data from the NYSE and NASDAQ for free. And so that's a really nice benefit. Now, this feature is not available yet. This partnership is still under development. It's very, very close, but it hasn't been officially announced. Please don't go to Tradier and ask them about StockCharts. The customer support people there aren't familiar with this thing just yet. Similarly, here at StockCharts, we aren't familiar with how to set up a Tradier account. If you're interested in this, my advice is just hold off on this a little bit more. Wait until we make the official announcement. You'll be able to get it all set up very, very quickly. Let me give you a quick demo of what I'm talking about. This other demo is also a work in progress. This is not officially available. It's just me kind of sharing with you guys before it's out in a special way, kind of trying to make sure everyone's knows what we're up to, this stuff. So I'm giving you pre-available access to this stuff. It's not for you to use, it's for you to just watch, observe, and see how we're moving forward with this thing. So again, trading will be available here on this icon when it's up. You'll be able to log in to your brokerage account. You'll be able to get your account details. You'll be able to change accounts if you have multiple accounts with Tradier. Maybe you have one for your cash positions, one for your margin positions, one for retirement, so on and so forth, however you want to do that. And then when you have your brokerage set up and working, then you'll have a panel that's available to you on the bottom of StockChartsACP. And this bottom panel will allow you to see your positions, to place and track orders, to make trades. Here's an example of how you would make trade, and you could type this in, TC, and then you can trade as an equity. You'd be able to say what, so on and so forth. This is still under development. These are not exactly what the user interface will look like, but it'll be something similar to this. We'll get the information for you and you'll be able to submit your trade here. Option chains will be available, seeing gains and losses, so on and so forth. All this stuff will be here in this bottom panel. So the bottom panel is really what I want to show you, and the interaction, the interactivity with the Tradier brokerage through the trading panel that you see there. So that's super exciting. And we're going to be providing more information about this when it becomes more available. It's actually like the very top feature that I'm pushing really hard for us to get into ACP as quickly as possible.
Chip, we have a question about ACP and trading.
Yes.
Do you have to use ACP to trade?
You do not have to use ACP to trade. No, absolutely not. If you want to trade from StockCharts, right now, ACP will be the first one of our tools that provides trading directly from the tool. We do plan on providing similar tools in the SharpCharts environment to allow you to trade from there. And then those same tools will probably be available just from the standard members dashboard, so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you.
But initially out of the gate, we're pushing really hard right now to get it working as part of ACP, but it won't be limited to ACP. All right. I'm getting down on, so good. Thank you for hitting my other questions slide. Anyone, you got 5 minutes, so any more questions, now's the time to kind of jam them in there.
I have another question about ACP that we get quite frequently. Will ACP eventually replace the existing platform of SharpCharts, or are we going to do away with SharpCharts?
Right. So yes, and I can see why that can be confusing. ACP will not replace SharpCharts. We are never going to get rid of SharpCharts. We're always going to have SharpCharts around. ACP is for the people that want a more interactive experience with their charts. You want to reach in. It's typically for people that are active traders. You're watching the market like a hawk. You might be day trading. You might be position trading, but you're ready to make a sale or a trade. ACP lets you get that very fine-grained set of information about what's going on in the market right now. You can do that with SharpCharts, but ACP is going to make that easier. It's going to be probably more useful to do it in ACP. But that said, the scenario where you use SharpCharts may complement ACP. You have your longer term positions, you have your retirement positions, you have stocks that you're not going to sell anytime soon. You just want to curate them, keep them around. Maybe you want to blog about them. Maybe you want to put them into a or save the charts into a Word document or some other kind of thing. SharpCharts is really, really good at all that kind of stuff. So SharpCharts will continue for the people that want to kind of curate their charts, curate their chart list, keep them around, watch them over time, watch them evolve over time. They're not interactively moving them and changing them all the time. ACP is for that opposite scenario. Somebody who is, they probably would never, maybe they will never save that particular chart, but they want to explore a topic. Maybe they heard on a radio show somewhere or on a TV show. They want to really dive into that chart. That's what ACP allows.
Okay, what about documentation for using ACP? Will there be a user guide like Greg Schnell's StockCharts for Dummies?
Well, I would love to see that. I would love to see us put out another book on ACP. We StockCharts will be documenting it like crazy. We already have been working on that in our own online documentation area. And videos like this will continue to be pushed out and continue to help people get familiar with the tool and its capabilities. At this point, it's in a huge state of flux. So the amount of documentation that's out there isn't necessarily a ton, but it is coming for sure. And in fact, this show is a kind of a stopgap measure while that documentation is under development.
Thank you, Chip.
Okay, so with that, what we're going to do, I wanted to do one more thing, which is just talk a little bit about the current market volatility and maybe show you just real quickly how I use ACP, things like that, to monitor this stuff. And I'm specifically going to come back here and I'm going to go to the electric blue slide, and I'm going to pull up in the Dow. I'm going to do this in 30 seconds. All right, and so what I wanted to point out is that technical analysis is very, very good at finding turnarounds in a stock. And when something is setting all-time highs, technical analysis doesn't have a ton to say about it. But at this point, the Dow has turned around, as you all know, is moving lower. So the question is, where are the support levels? And as you can see here, this indicator here, this specific indicator, which is volume by price, is really good at helping you find old support levels. And so what I've done here is I'm zooming out. Let me actually close this one down too, give myself more screen, I recommended. I've zoomed out a little bit and I'm sliding back and forth. And this is totaling up the volume. Whenever the Dow was at this particular price level, all these volume bars are totaled up. The volume bars for whenever the Dow closed at this particular price level, that's what causes this bar to get really long. Well, I'm out of time. Play with ACP, play with this chart in particular, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you next time on Deep Dive.